Can a life that seems perfect fall apart without a single scandal? For years, George Clooney was Hollywood's gold standard, charming, respected, untouchable. He had everything people dream about: fame, love, admiration, and an image polished by time. But what happens when that image begins to fade, not from betrayal or drama, but from silence, distance, and change? Behind the red carpets and effortless smiles lived a man facing questions only time can ask. Because when Clooney finally opened up, he didn't reveal gossip, he revealed truth, human, raw, and disarmingly real. Before we dive in, make sure to hit subscribe and tap the bell icon, because today, we're exploring the untold reality behind one of Hollywood's most admired love stories. From forever single to finding forever. For most of his early life, George Clooney was the man who had sworn off marriage. After his brief union with actress Talia Balsam ended in the 90s, he turned his heartbreak into humor. "I'm not built for marriage," he'd say with a grin, and the world believed him. It became part of his legend, the independent star who didn't need anyone to complete him. While others built families, Clooney built a career, from TV charm to Hollywood icon, from actor to activist. His schedule was always full, his smile always ready, but late at night, when the lights dimmed, even he admitted the quiet could feel heavy. He had mastered solitude. Or so he thought. But destiny rarely respects our plans, and one summer, everything changed. When Amal walked in. It was 2013, at George Clooney's home on Lake Como, a place famous for laughter and late-night talks. A mutual friend brought along a guest, Amal Alamuddin, a brilliant Oxford-educated human rights lawyer. Unlike anyone he'd met before, Amal wasn't impressed by fame or fortune. She spoke her mind, stood her ground, and met George's charm with intellect and wit. Later, Clooney would admit that from the moment she walked in, everything felt different. Emails turned into conversations, conversations turned into connection. Amal didn't orbit his world, she challenged it. Her work for justice gave him perspective beyond Hollywood's spotlight. Then came the night, April 2014. George hid a diamond ring in a drawer and nervously waited as Amal talked about her day. When she didn't notice, he finally said with a laugh, "I'm 52, my knee's gonna give out soon." She said yes. And the man who swore he'd never marry again became a believer in forever. Their Venice wedding that September wasn't just an event, it was a statement: even the most stubborn hearts can find home. Golden years, love, purpose, and perfection. For years, George and Amal were the world's favorite couple, elegant, intelligent, and grounded. When their twins, Ella and Alexander, arrived in 2017, Clooney called it the greatest moment of his life. Together they built not just a marriage, but a mission. The Clooney Foundation for Justice became a global voice for human rights. Red carpets turned into platforms for purpose. To outsiders, they seemed flawless, the perfect mix of glamour and compassion. But perfection has a quiet cost. As their careers expanded, Amal in international law, George in film and activism, their worlds began to move in different directions. And even gold, under enough pressure, begins to crack. The distance begins. By 2025, their rhythm had changed. Amal accepted a teaching position at Oxford, while George worked in New York preparing for his Broadway debut. For the first time, they lived on different continents. They told friends it was temporary, but days became weeks, and weeks became months. Phone calls grew shorter, conversations more formal. In public, their smiles never faded, but in private, the silence between them did most of the talking. George once told People magazine they'd never argue. It sounded perfect, maybe too perfect. Because sometimes, peace doesn't mean harmony. It means distance that words no longer bridge. The night that shook everything. June 2025, the Tony Awards. George Clooney was there with Amal, radiant and calm, the picture of success. But that night, celebration blurred into escape. After years of sobriety, George decided to have one night off. He laughed it off later, Amal didn't. To her, it wasn't about the drink, it was about what it represented, slipping back into an old version of himself. The man she loved had outgrown that life. Seeing even a glimpse of it return made her afraid. In the days that followed, silence replaced conversation. Their Provence home, once filled with laughter, felt heavier. George realized it wasn't fame or pressure tearing them apart, it was something far quieter: time, and the realization that even love needs renewal. When silence speaks louder than words. They retreated to their estate in France, hoping to heal. But instead of arguments, there was politeness and polite silence. Amal immersed herself in her work, George wandered the vineyards, rehearsing lines alone. To the public, they remained a picture of grace. But to those close to them, it was clear they were living together, yet apart. No betrayal, no shouting, just two people who'd forgotten how to reach each other. Experts say silence is more dangerous than anger. And in the Clooney home, that silence had become a third presence. The rumors and the reality. By mid-2025, the tabloids caught on. Whispers of a trial separation filled the headlines. Neither confirmed nor denied, they simply carried on, gracefully. Friends described it best: not conflict, just distance. Even through the separation, they shared parenting duties and stayed in touch. But love, no matter how deep, struggles to survive different worlds. Amal speaks softly but clearly. When Glamour magazine interviewed Amal that fall, readers noticed the subtle change. She spoke of George with warmth and gratitude, recalling how supportive he'd been when their twins were born. But her words sounded more reflective than present, more then than now. George reportedly read that interview alone in Provence. He told friends it touched him and reminded him how much he'd lost to time and distance. He never blamed fame. He only said, "I never wanted headlines about love, I just wanted to be a husband." George's truth. When George finally addressed the rumors, it wasn't a denial, it was an admission. "Marriage isn't about staying the same," he said quietly. "It's about holding on when everything around you changes, even when you do." He spoke about love that doesn't end in hate, it just transforms into something quieter. "Sometimes," he said, "you can sit next to the person you love and still feel 1,000 miles away." No anger, no drama, just honesty. It was the most human moment of his career. Acceptance, the love that changed shape. By the end of 2025, George and Amal had found peace, not by clinging, but by accepting. Amal continued her work in Oxford, raising their children with grace. George stayed in France, directing films and tending to his vineyards. They still spoke often, visited during holidays, and shared deep respect. Their story stopped being about ending and started being about evolving. Because sometimes, love doesn't break. It simply reshapes, quieter, deeper, and real. Final words. There was no scandal, no betrayal, just life unfolding. The Clooneys showed that even the strongest love can be tested by time, ambition, and silence. Their journey reminds us that perfection isn't the goal, authenticity is. So here's the question. Can love survive when success demands everything from both sides? If this story moved you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because next, we uncover another hidden chapter from Hollywood's most untold lives.